Okay, I had to stop the recording and like catch up on like what I was actually initially talking about. So this is what I was talking about. There is enough decisiveness among females in general. So, and you see this, like girls can be super catty with each other, and it really kind of starts in like middle school, high school, college, and then we're all fighting over the same guys, and like, and like now it's like we're fighting over guys still, and like calling each other, calling each other sluts, and like, or like, um, so yeah, so it's been like a bigger practice of mine to also be intentional about celebrating women, and be like, yeah, amazing, congratulations. Especially like I'm being really surrounded and influenced by like really badass like female entrepreneurs who are like around my age or even younger, who are like just absolutely like slaying and crushing it and like making a lot of money or have really big name brands, or like, they have big Spotify podcasts or have written multiple books, and like they have big brands online. Like, I really honor that, and I find it really inspiring, and I let them inspire me, and I let them put a fire under my booty. And yeah, I feel so lucky to be like influenced and connected with and have the access to be influenced like that. So yeah, just a little food for thought. So the next time you're feeling jealous or petty about someone else, regardless, first of all, know that it's because it's a reflection of you, really. Like, that is a desire of yours, and that is a quality of yours that you already have that you're probably being shy about and you're not expressing. It's called the golden shadow in the spiritual lineage of Tantra. A lot of times when you're jealous of somebody, or there's something that irks something about another person, it's because it's triggering something to you to like ask you to like step up. So like, I'll just give a real time example. My dad's a Leo. This guy can like walk into like any room and like yap for hours about like all his success and like all his stuff, and he has like no qualms about it. I've told him many times, I'm like, Dad, give the mic to somebody else. But like, I think for me as a Pisces, I'm a little bit more, first of all, let's talk about it from the female perspective. I think in society, it's better now, I think, with social media and things like that, and like the more common to see really successful women entrepreneurs. It's just not as like common for us to like walk into a room and start like talking about how amazing we are, and like, like all this stuff that we're doing and like what we're selling, and like, whereas like guys, like so many male entrepreneurs I've met like recently, it's like within like 2 minutes they're like, they want to like get me on a discovery call, and and it's like, that's cool. Like, I'm so, I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, thank you so much, I'm not interested. But I think just as men, they're more celebrated to just like boast about what they're doing. Whereas like for a woman, I think it comes across as like bitchy or like cocky, or like I've been called like conceited in the past when I was younger. And I think that's part of the reason why I just like learned to be a little bit more shy about things. I was always like, I wasn't mediocre. I was like totally in the 10%, but I was never like the 1%. I think some part of it's because it's like I'm way too Cheeto. Like, I'm really like laid back, and it's not important to me to be number one. I never had that obsession and that drive to be number one. I wanted to be good, and I wanted to be on the top, and it was important. Like, I'm very team mentality minded. So it's like I needed to be in the top echelon, but I never needed to be the captain. And I felt like that was a lot of pressure on me, and I thought that was a lot. It's just not my personality. Like, if you want to assign me co-captain or like co-VP, like, cool, that's fine with me. But I like to diversify responsibility. I don't like to be the one. I don't need that level of control. But I've always kind of like had that sort of authoritative personality. People have always like looked to me for leadership. I always wind up in the leadership position, whether I want to be there or not. But I don't need to be like the president of the United States. And every time I catch myself feeling like I need to be that, I'm like, okay, Victoria, what is going on here? Like, what is actually like underneath? Like, what need is actually coming up that you need to fill, that you feel like you need to be on top, or like need to do something else, or like prove something else, if it's not really coming from a genuine place. Like, I absolutely have desires. I absolutely have dreams. You know, I have really, really big steps that I'm taking with both my coaching company, but also my entertainment career. And yeah, like I totally own that. Like I'm not shy. And the more I say it, the less shy I feel that like I'm going to be on a billboard, many billboards around the world in like many big capitals. I'm going to be on those wrapped around a bus. I'm going to be on one of those signs at a bus stand. Like you're going to see me at an airport. Like it's just a matter of time. You're going to see me in some cool like international film festival film that has like a really cool storyline and they shot it really interesting and it's like super aesthetic and like, you know, it's going to be one of those films that like wins a Cannes festival or like a Palme d'Or or like whatever. One of those like artsy aesthetic films, you know. I don't need to be in a blockbuster, but something that has a really deep storyline. You know, other things like that. I'm not shy about it. I literally just told you right now, and I will tell you again. Just wait. You're going to see my face all over the world, and you're like, oh, I know that girl from Instagram. You're welcome. And I hope that inspires something in you to be really bold about like, your dreams. Like, don't just be like, oh, yeah, I want to make like $60,000 a year. And like, nobody can even hear you. If anybody saw that movie, Pitch Perfect, oh my God, that's one of my favorite movies because I really love singing. And actually that's been one of my like sort of like entertainment stuff I've been a little bit more shy about. I actually was a opera trained singer. I didn't sing opera, but like my teacher sang opera, was an opera singer. So I was trained by an opera singer. But again, I was never the best. So I was like never chosen to be the lead singer. And it's really funny that recently out of nowhere, I've just like started singing a lot more. And why I was so stoked to go to this like sound workshop this weekend. But actually, ironically enough, side note, breath work really helps with singing. Ironically enough, because I found that in the last like 5-6 weeks that I've like really made breath work a bigger practice. My voice is more grounded in my like true resonance, which is like a lower, more gravelly talk, like this kind of resonance that it has right now. When I get stressed, it gets like higher pitched. And my voice is stronger when I sing, and I have like a much larger capacity to sing in like a lot of different types. In the past, I typically sang in like a more high note voice with my head, because that's how I was trained by the opera singer. It's like a higher falsetto or something. Don't quote me if all the like lingo is wrong, okay? Like don't be like, oh, Victoria has no idea what she's talking about because she's like not using the right vocab. But yeah, so that's been really interesting and that's been really exciting. I've been a little bit shy to put out my singing on Instagram, but that's part of my push. So get ready for some more actual like videos of me actually singing, like not just carpool karaoke or like bathroom ballads. Mirror dances before I get ready to go out. But yeah, I think that was a pretty solid chat. There was like a bunch of other stuff I wanted to talk about, but yeah, I think there was a lot of things to think about in there. So wherever you are, like celebrate where you are right in this minute. And if people come into your life to like inspire you and invoke something in you, like celebrate that. I have a lot of really, really, really successful connections. People who are making a lot more money than me, who are doing really, really cool things with their lives. And I'm like, you know, it's hard not to feel like the runt of the group sometimes, depending on who I'm with and where I'm at and stuff like that and how much we're all spending at dinner or whatever. But I always let it inspire me. Especially since being in Tulum, I've been meeting a lot of people who are like doing really, really cool things. And yeah, I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. well, how can that like push me to like go to the next level? Like, how can I allow that to push me to like, and I'm not just talking about from a financial level, like, yeah, of course, but like really what I'm hearing and learning over and over and over and over and over and over, and let me just say this 17 times, that like when you're in the pursuit of creating something that you love and like your passion, like the money has to be the afterthought. Like it's the blessing of you chasing your dream. And I think for me as an artist and as someone who is a athlete and trains and like gets this like really insane kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's something that I wish that everybody could experience. It's this like level of intensity and this level of like focus that like, especially when I'm in, you know, I think maybe people call it flow state. But for me, there's like an added level of intensity where it's like sometimes when I'm creating art, it depends on my mood, you know. I can play sports or work out and like make, you know, dance and like from like it depends, but like I always know when I need that like super focused, like intense movement space. And it's like, you know, if I'm running or I'm like dancing or I'm like biking or something, or it's like I just get this like singular laser focus where I am the only one in this space. I don't owe anybody a response. I'm not responsible to anybody. It's almost like I'm able to like detach from all of these kind of like material situations and even relationships with people. And it's like, it's just me in this space and I'm not responsible to anybody. I don't have to respond. I don't need to think about this or that or whatever. Like it's me in my space and I have everything I need in that moment. And it's just about me accomplishing whatever I set out to accomplish in that space. So whether that's like really pushing myself with a new dance to like a level of intensity and creative expression that like just really matches what I'm feeling internally, or it's like a new skill, you know, or like trying to juggle more. Juggling soccer balls was like never that probably was my worst skill. Like I was terrible at juggling. I could juggle with my thighs really well. But like the foot juggling, please, por favor. Like I've tried for years. I need a new coach, basically. I need a coach. Yeah, in the footwork, that I was just like, I was like tall and lanky, so I could run, and I had a really good foot, so I could cross really well, which was like why when I found my sweet spot as a midfielder, it was like ace, because when I was younger, I was a little shorter, so they put me as forward, but like I spurted pretty quickly. So like by the time I was in middle school, I was like 5'5" already, and like now I'm like 5'8", 8.5", 9. Like so I didn't grow that much really from a span of like 12, 13 to like now. So I got placed and I got really lanky because I kind of sprouted like a beanstalk. And so I got placed as midfielder because I was too tall to be a forward anymore. And I just didn't want to run that fast, you know? I just like didn't want the pressure of like needing to like have to be the archer or like the hunter. And I'm like a really team person. So I really liked being able, and it just gave me the spaciousness to then make these like really beautiful crosses. Oh my God. Some of the crosses I had growing up, amazing. I wish I had them on film. Anyway, I remember I had my coach. I don't remember if it was like my club coach or my high school coach wanted to put me as center mid. And I was like, jokes. No way, dude. Way too much way too much responsibility. I think if I were to find the right like team now, like the right cohesive, consistent like team to play, I would be up for that. But yeah, I remember very clearly, I was like, I'm a no to that because I don't want all the responsibility of needing to like control the whole field. So I remember the center fielder of my longest standing club team, such a good player. Oh my God. She was such a good player. Yeah. Where else we can go with that? I think that's good. Yeah, celebrate the success you're saying that you want to be at. celebrate the other people who are successful, who are not doing the things that you want, but are dope for them. Surround yourself with people who inspire you and continue to like push you to grow. Push yourself. And just don't quit, you know? Oh my God, I have such amazing news. Today I finally perfected the art of like seriously for a long stanza of riding a bike with no hands. I literally never thought I could do that. But I've been seeing like, there's a couple main avenues in Tulum where most people bike. It's like a thoroughway. So I see all these people on there who are like biking, and I've seen this before. I saw it in, I saw it in Venice or in LA, and I saw it in New York, but all these people who are biking with no hands. Obviously, all of them are guys. So I'm like, I'm gonna do it, watch me. So I've been practicing, and even if I get like 30 seconds or a minute, or I'm super wobbly or something, today I figured out the sauce, at least for like right now, how to make it work. I had my backpack on, not because I'm like seriously trying to train or something. It's because like now I'm mainly biking around instead of like using a Vespa. I have some weights. Like I went to go to my juice guy. So my backpack was heavier, and I'm assuming because of that, like my gravity was stronger, and I like figured out how to tighten my core. So like literally I caught the flow and I was screaming on the street because I was so excited that I just knocked out this gnarly move that I've been working on. It was amazing. I was so proud of myself. So now I've been trying to catch that flow again, but I was like, this is absurd. Did I just like teach myself how to ride a bike? And I'm not talking about a standalone bike, guys, okay? Like we're not talking about like a SoulCycle bike or like a bike in a gym. Like we're talking about like an actual bike that has two wheels that's like going. Just to clarify, okay? Maybe one day it might be a unicycle, but I think that's like another conversation if I wind up in a circus. Where was I going with that? Yeah, it was amazing. I loved it. It was so much fun. I was so proud of myself. I don't even remember what song I was listening to, but somehow I just caught the flow, and I like rode that thing for like it was just like the perfect centrifugal force where I was just going straight. And I was like, I fucking got it, dude. I got it. I was so stoked. I literally was like screaming in the middle of the street. Like literally, I think somebody probably thought I was like crazy, but I was like screaming for joy. Like when a runner breaks like a PR mile or something, I was like, I just broke this thing that I've been working on. So much fun. Yeah. So like, and then challenge yourself like that. Like now I'm also challenging myself and to expand more into like showing more vulnerable art pieces online. I haven't made like one of my longer dance videos in a while, which ironically enough, every time I track, like my dance videos are the ones that get like my highest reels, which, why are you guys so obsessed with me dancing? No, I'm kidding. I'm a really good dancer. So yeah, but like I haven't made like a deeper piece, should I say? Like a deeper synchronized piece with like an explanation of what I'm feeling, or like one of my dance pieces, basically. I haven't done that in a while, and now the next move is to really start showing myself like actually singing online. Not that I'm not singing in my other things, but like to really show you that I actually know how to sing. Yeah, and then upcoming in January, I'm gonna be performing at a live slam poetry piece. I used to write a lot of poetry growing up, actually. Like since I was a kid, I was a really big writer. And I guess I just fell out of it recently. Not so much in the last couple of years, but it was a big thing for me. I journaled a lot. I was a really big writer growing up. A lot of my classes, like in school, were always writing classes because it was really important to me to be, which LOL, which is like not ironic that I wound up in marketing and copywriting. But yeah, I'd write a lot of essays and things like that. And I took a lot of creative writing classes in uni. Like I took a lot of poetry classes, like higher level poetry classes. Read a lot of poetry, super dope poetry short books. I learned a lot about the poetry world in college. And then I just kind of stopped. I don't know, like the last time I like really wrote any poetry. So yeah. So if you're in Tulum in January, mid-January, somewhere in the Tuluminati, I will be performing live a stand poetry piece that has already started channeling through me. I'm not sure if it's gonna wind up being the final piece that I perform, but yeah, I've been following a girl on Instagram recently who's big time. She's like I think she's written multiple poetry books. Her stuff is really good. And she's pretty young. I think she's probably in her like late 20s. Rupi Kaur is another good person. I read a handful of her poetry books back in the day. Yeah, so stay tuned. Maybe you'll see some short stanza pieces from me. Poetry's like art though, like let me tell you. Not only can you like express what you're saying in a really concise way, and it's like this really beautiful thing, but also the way I was taught in university is that when you're writing a chapbook, like so you can have a poetry book, but what they're in the poetry world, like the lingo is called chapbook, whatever that even means. Like a short chapter book, I don't know. So when you're actually then writing it, I guess you can have it handwritten and stuff, but if you're like with the aim of getting it published, then you also format it in certain ways. And so all of the space, the white space of the paper that you're playing with, like, because pretty typically I assume that like you think that a poem is like this, if you don't know a lot about poetry, that you can have poem, like the lines and all over the place. It's like an art piece. It's just dependent on where you're putting, like where you as an artist decide to put the lines. And so I remember my teacher was like, play with the white space. And so then it gave me this freedom to not only like write whatever I wanted to write, but then it became about like now as an artist, I'm utilizing this whole page, or like I'm utilizing different materials to like write this on. So it was like so cool that part of one of my classes was like actually the exploration of reading a bunch of other poets chapbooks to see like the sizing that they use differently. Like typically for novels and books, the sizing's pretty standard. You know, like everybody knows what a book looks like. But for poetry books, there's so many variations of like the size, the quality of the paper sometimes, the way people, how long a poem is, the content, the way they write, and then also how people play with white space. And so for me, that was often like the most exciting way for me to write poems, was because I was like not as concerned about the content. I was like so stoked about where am I gonna put all the lines and how many spaces, and like it can get a little neurotic because I'm like really aesthetic. So that's the sitch with me right now, is like sometimes I'll like get really fixated on like the placement of my text or like the song, and it has to be like in the exact right stanza. Like I think a lot about these things, guys. So I hope you know the level and the depth that I put into in my stories and in my posts, not as much, because I don't want, like right now, like a lot of them depend, like most of them I feel called to write really short texts, because I'm also kind of like blunt like that sometimes, and I just kind of want to do like a quick like funny thing. Not all of my posts I feel called to do like longer like pieces or copy. Yeah, occasionally in the past I've had pieces like that, and the copy would kind of be a poem. But yeah, my stories is really where I feel like I can put poetry-esque writing, and some of them have actually been poems. But yeah, stories are my fave, guys. Stories are really my favorite. I love utilizing stories, and I put a lot of time and effort into just making it feel like a synthesis and an arc and a journey. And yeah, that's where I really like to like showcase and play with fonts and spacing, mainly spacing, like the spacing of the text combined with the photo, and then like placing music and the right stanza. It's like low-key hate to admit how much time I spend on my stories, but you know, it's my favorite part of Instagram. I also like going live and having chats like this, but I would say probably stories and lives are my favorite. Because like lives, I feel like I can really free flow in real time, and that's where I feel like I really get to connect with people. And that's really honestly why I think I like Instagram the most as my platform. But circling back, I think the last piece was about Leos. Like my dad's a Leo. And he's really good at talking about like what's going on in his life. And yeah, I think he does it to a little bit extreme still, TBH. But like that guy, you can tell him like 90 times, like, bro, pass the mic. Like he still does it. He doesn't have any qualms. He's really good at networking. He's a solely referral-based business, which is like epic. It's a really, I mean, granted, he's like in his early 70s, but, and he's had a long reputation in larger businesses in the past. And he had his own firm with a friend when I was growing up, when I was little. But yeah, he's constantly getting like new clients that are getting referred to him. Family group chat getting updated. There's a competition going on right now between my sister and my dad about who makes the most money. I mean, my sister doesn't really participate because as of right now, there's no competing with her, but that's another story. And then my dad, you know, has been picking it up, try to compete with my sister. Yeah, so I think like recently I was chatting with my mentor about this, and I was like telling her how much Leos annoy me sometimes, and she was like, I think that's an invitation for you to be more like that. Like Leos are typically the signs of like the actors and the performers. Either like they're Leo suns or they're Leo risings. So you typically know a Leo when they like walk into a room, and it's like then somehow the whole conversation shifts to be like about them, or like suddenly you feel like everything's about that person. Like they're really the kind of people who really love this being the center of attention. I've always loved being part of the attention or center of attention. But I think I also get sensitive that like I'm taking up too much space or people are paying too much attention to me. Like I feel like I have to be polite and balance the amount of time the attention's on me, or like talking about certain things and like posturing it and like toning it so it doesn't seem like I'm like bragging or like I'm becoming too big. And this is related to one of my stories that I posted today or yesterday about like being shy. Like I'm being shy. Like I'm being like mediocre about like how talented I actually really am and like how capable I am at a lot of things, and how many interests I have and how much exposure to like the world and different styles, and like just how many interests I have and like how many things I actually do and how good at them I actually am. So yeah, I'm stepping into my Leo era and really being more blunt and bold and like firm about like what I'm doing and who I am. Like you would think for someone who's been in the entertainment industry for like almost 20 years of her life, that it would be easier for me to tell people that I'm in the entertainment industry. But up until now, like even now, like when people ask me what I do, like I get a little shy. Like I'm like, are they gonna think I'm like being conceited, or like who does this girl think she is, that like she's a model and like she like acts like what, who is, you know? And that I have a big brand online, and that I have a business online, and that I'm an entrepreneur, and that I run my own business, and I've had like a lot of really, really big accolades and things that I've done in my professional career that are separate from my acting and coaching business, that when I tell people, you know, like sometimes I feel like I don't want to talk about it, or I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to get called conceited again, like I did when I was 10. Or like for people to think I'm too big. And I think this is a conversation too about feeling like if I'm too big, then what's going to happen? Like what's gonna be the ripple effect if I actually fully step into like how amazing I am and how accomplished I am and how cool I am and like what a good person I am and what a good friend I am and like all these things. Like if I actually really showcase that to the fullest level, to like the 200% versus like the 800, like the 80% that makes me acceptable, that people think are like, oh, she's a really cool person, but like really to the point where like I'm triggering people, like that I'm doing all this stuff with my life and that like I have such a big career. Like that's also been an edge that I've been thinking about of like, okay, well, I have to do that. Like, I can't be afraid that people might fall out of my life or have an opinion or a reaction to me being super, super, super big. Which means, like, I have to be okay with people, like, having a response and possibly, like, falling out of my life because I'm going to become famous. So, invitation for all of you guys to really allow yourself to be your fullest, shiniest person. Because I actually find that when you're doing that and you're living your purpose and your dharma and you're like acting from that space and you're grounding in your confidence and your self-worth, you're actually happier, which then attracts more opportunities and more people to you, because people see happy people and they're like, it's like a moth to a flame. They're like, I want to be around that girl. Who's that girl or guy? You know, who's that? I want to know them. And that's not anything you have to say. It's just an energy, because you're happy, you're doing the things, you're making steps. And when you're willing to sacrifice, and when I say sacrifice everything, I really mean relationships. Like when you're willing to sacrifice what other people think about you in pursuit of your vision and your dream and like whatever that your dharma is, and like you're literally like so delusional, you're not thinking and like not listening to what anybody says, and you don't care if people walk in or walk out. I mean, it's not to say that like I don't care, but it's like not to the level that like I'm gonna sacrifice any aspect of my life, any aspect of who I am, any aspect of my integrity to like chase something if somebody is so easily triggered by that. And I'm talking friendships, I'm talking like business opportunities, and I'm especially talking about romantic partners. I will risk it all, because if you're wavering and you're not really in your fullest alignment and really grounded in your self-worth, you're not really fully authentic and fully honest in that relationship, whatever aspect that is. And I really saw this in my last relationship, where I started to not want to spend time with him. You know, I was like doing low-key long distance, not like actual long distance, but like driving was involved. And I started not wanting, like when it was like my turn to like go and drive and see him, I didn't want to go. Because I realized that like, and when I would be around him, I could feel his like energetic vibration wasn't a match for me. And I wasn't having fun in our conversations. Like I could be present because that's the kind of person I am. And I would turn off my phone and be there with him because that's my commitment to him. And like why I would schedule like specific times, because that was my commitment to him as my partner and as somebody that I loved. But I wasn't like really happy. Like I remember a key, like towards the end of us breaking up, it was the day that he was going to meet my parents for the first time. And I've never brought anyone home before that. So it was a really big deal for me. And I remember like I was in my dance class in LA, my ecstatic dance class in LA. And I get out and it's like, you know, for me, dance is really cathartic. It's like my space. I'm, you know, in a high, like not high vibe, low vibe, but like good music, other people dancing freely, like going wild, like, you know, like a very classic Victoria space, you know? You put good beats and like people just dancing however they want, and like Victoria Weber just like dancing however the fuck she wants, like with no control, like nobody feeling like nobody can control her, which is like my true essence. I hate to feel like I'm being controlled in any capacity. Like that is probably like my number one trigger. is to feel like suffocated or like somebody has an expectation of me. To certain degrees. Obviously being in a relationship, when you're in a relationship with somebody, like you have to have equal exchanges. And it's like, if I'm feeling suffocated, I have to ask myself like what's actually coming up. And that could be something from, it could be reminding me of something from childhood, or I just really need space for a little bit. But I just remember like driving. Oh, first of all, I get a lecture. Like, he's like, why are you just leaving? And I was like, bruh, like, you don't tell a dancer to leave dance class. Like, I just remember like driving over there, just feeling like, I don't want to go, like, da-da-da-da. And like, my mom had actually told me to like tell him had told me, always listen to your mom, guys and girls. I'm telling you, this is something I'm really learning, because my mom was probably like my number one nemesis growing up. We fought so much. It was crazy. But I've done a lot of work to like heal that relationship. And she told me like, just make it easy for you. Like, what do you want to do? Like, mom, like dad and I will drive up, like just tell him to drive up and we'll like do something in LA. But I really wanted him to like see where my parents lived and like my childhood home, and like, and really see me in my childhood space. You know, me in LA is me in LA. That's not, you know, that's not me growing up in Orange County. So I was like, no, we'll do the thing. Yeah, and it was a mess, and we broke up shortly after that. But I just remember like, that was me not listening to the part of me that already knew that that wasn't a relationship that was in my highest alignment and my highest like sort of energetic counterpart. Because I would get together and it was like my energy wouldn't feel good. Like, I didn't feel good in the energetic space. And then we would get in like arguments about a lot of little things, and then I wouldn't even feel happy like spending time with him, which like, you know, then I became adverse to like wanting to spend time with him. But then it's like, then you have this complication, like as a woman biologically, like you start to bond with somebody and then you're already like so deep in the sauce, and it's like then parents and family get involved, and like, you know, and then you're in your, you know, and then it's like conversations about like where the relationship is going, and like conversations about marriage, and like this was my most serious relationship to date ever. LOL date. Pun. My dad's a big pun guy, so that's where Victoria Weber got her bars. It's definitely from Mark Webber. And then more and more are coming, but I must say so myself. I am quite funny. Got it from my daddy. But yeah, so I mean, now I'm a lot more in tune and intentional about like what kind of space I like to be around energetically. And it usually like, I'm getting better actually at making it quicker. Like, I still feel like sometimes I kind of extend it a little bit longer than probably is needed, in terms of like if I'm in a space or I'm at a party or, you know, and I'm just like not quite feeling it. It still takes me a little bit longer to like fully be like, okay, make quicker decisions to be like, okay, we're out. Like, not feeling it. But yeah. So I think by you being your fullest expression, and you're actually being the most honest you can to the people that you love. And so like, I'm doing as good as possible as I can be, even if that means like I cancel plans, or I say no more, and I don't take certain clients, and I definitely don't entertain conversations anymore as much. I've gotten a lot better at this actually. Like, Tuluma's been so good for me about this. Like, entertain conversations to me that aren't going anywhere. Like, how is this conversation supporting me? Whether that's like from a dating standpoint or like a friendship standpoint. Like, you know, if I'm not feeling it and it's like, it's not a person that's aligned with my values, like, I've gotten a lot better and tighter with like my time boundaries. Like, and maybe there's some people that I love to spend time with, and I just have to keep in mind, like, this is where there's a little bit of fluidity that comes in that I learned from when I had mentors in the Tantra space, and like my current mentor. Like, evaluate, like, do you like this person? Do you like spending time with them? Like, that's the number one piece. Like, does their energy make you feel good? Do you enjoy spending time with them? If the answer is yes, then if they have certain quirks, like, can you just be okay with that? Like, can you just allow them to be that? So it's like, now if I have friends that I love dearly, that I love spending time with, that I feel like rejuvenated or energized, or I get something from their energy, then I'm like, is this something I can just be okay with? Like, you know, I don't have, sometimes I have friends who are really bad at responding, and then I take it personally. I'm like, why don't you respond? You're mad at me, or like whatever, or like, I'm not going to respond now, like whatever little girl thing I go into. I don't respond all the time. I would say I probably like am more responsive than some of my friends. I'm not always the best responder, but I usually try to communicate. Like, I'm a little bit more of a forward communicator, so I'll usually like say like, hey, I can't get back to you right now. I'll get back to you like later or something. And I usually try to give a deadline or something like that. But like, so like I said, like I'm a little bit more communicative than like communicative than some of my friends. But yeah. So I've had a handful of conversations with a lot of my friends about this, which probably means that there's something that I get to continue to work on about not needing to be so, have so many expectations about how people respond to me. But yeah, but if there's like other things, like around, like same thing with parents. Like, I just know at this point in life, like, my mom's the one who's like never gonna stop talking. So it's like, even if it's like a conversation has nothing to do with me, I don't care about, it doesn't relate, like, or even if it does, it's like some anxiety of hers or fear of hers or concern of hers about me. It's like, I tried growing up so many times, like, they tell you set boundaries and say, I don't want to talk, like, it doesn't work, So it's like, now I like, the response or like the sauce in my sibling system is like, we just let her yap. We get 87 emails from her at 3 a.m. California time, sending us supplements and, updates about bombings in China or like whatever she wants to send. And I'm trying to be better to just acknowledge, because that's been one of the things that she's expressed to me, that she feels upset or rejected or ignored about me not validating that I received her message. And so, and I can understand, because I feel the same when I don't, I send something to a friend or whatever, I'm talking to somebody and it's like, I don't need a full-fledged response, but it's like, sometimes it's just nice to be like, cool, got it, thanks for sending, or like, shoot me a heart emoji or like whatever, some sort of validation point. So I can understand where she comes from, because my sister never responds. Like, she's even worse than me. So yeah, so I've been trying to better to be like, but there's some things like I just don't respond to. Like, she still thinks I need to get a 9 to 5, like, she's 72 years old and she like grew up in Taiwan. Like, she still thinks I need to get like some formal 9 to 5 so that I can have like money in my 401k, until I get married to Chad. So it's like, she's just like, and it's like, at this point, I think it would be insulting to her to like tell her to like, hey, stop sending me job applications. So I just let her send me job applications. Same thing. Like, she just gets like on this loop about things that like, for me, I have a very spontaneous personality. Like, some things that are like, and I'm, some things I just am so loose about that I'm like not worried about. So it's like, we're, as a family, I'm sure you guys maybe have seen that, like, as a whole entire family unit, like, we're all going to Asia at the end of the month to visit my mother's homeland. And so I have to do some things in America that are just like easier to handle in America than it is like in Mexico. So I need to order like my next year's worth of contacts. So like, literally, I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten this conversation about like, did I call Target to get the timeline of like when I would send them the prescription to like get my box of contacts, and like, where are they going to ship it? Like, like 17 times. And I was like, yeah, Mom, it's all good. Like, we're gonna sort it out. Like, I know Target like the back of my hand. Like, I've been shopping there for years. Like, all the girls in the shop know me. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, did you call Target? Like, text, calls, every time I call her, or like we're on a call, then somehow the conversation becomes unrelatedly to be about like, and so it's like, sometimes stuff like that, because like my mom and dad do a lot of things together. So most of the time, often, I would say, if I call like my mom or something, or my mom calls me, often they're together. So my call a friend move now is like, usually if my dad's in the screen, I'll be like, Dad, can you like please handle this conversation? Because like he's really the only one who can like get her off these trains. So that's just an example of how like you stay in relationship. Because like I used to get so pissed about that when I was younger, like when I was in my earlier 20s. Like stuff like that would just piss me off, and I would feel so disrespected, and I was like so in this like victim trauma mindset of like, you're not respecting me and you're not respecting my boundaries and I'm hanging up the phone and like stuff like that. And now I just think it's funny, and I actually like think it's like how she expresses love, even if it's about things that are like to me feel annoying. Like I'll just handle it. So like now I'm actually really also allowing myself to receive her sort of like very intense like love, even if it's something that feels like totally dumb to me, like contacts. Like I'll handle it. Like you just put an order in, like no big deal. So yeah, that's been a really big lesson for me as well, is like learning how like the people that I feel like I love, that I want to keep in my life, that feel in alignment for me to be there, as long as like it's a mutual thing, like how can I love them exactly as they are without trying to really change them? Like at some, like with my friends, like, you know, that's a different piece. Like there's always opportunity to have like deeper conversations and like about certain things, and you can certainly make requests and be like, hey, I would really love to see this in our friendship or our relationship. And I, you know, have done this with my partners in the past. Like express what you want and detach from the outcome of like how they choose to then respond. And then from there, like decide how you want to move forward. So like with my ex, it just got to a point where it was like, we cannot continue like this same model that we have going on. Like your Model Y Tesla is broken. Like we gotta get a new model. Like, and if we can't, then, you know, and that's ultimately where we landed, where it was like, we couldn't move forward, and it was fine. Like that was in my highest alignment. I mean, obviously at the time that was like a very big deal for me. And I spent a lot of, you know, about a year ago, like a long time, and even very early into 2024 until I really moved to Tulum, like processing the grief of that relationship ending, and especially not ending in a way that was, you know, favorable to me, and in a way that felt good and reciprocal and like conclusive to me, like in a team way. It didn't end nice. It was nice. It was the worst breakup I've ever gone through in my life, and it was the first breakup where I was the one who didn't initiate it. So it was like a lot of layers going on, where it was like I wasn't the one in control for the first time in my life, and it was messy. Like it just ended. And to be honest, like I never felt like I was gonna get over that. Like, yeah, it was crazy. So there's been a lot of blessings of me moving to Tulum. Honestly, gosh, I can't express to you like the liberation that I feel like not thinking about him every day, and like what happened there, and like what, you know, if he was ever gonna reach out to apologize and like have a proper conversation about us like ending things. And wow, let me tell you, whew. So for anybody who's watching this, I am not a breakup coach, by the way. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I do help clients with personal relationships and things, and that is one of the things we do talk about, like life and relationships and all the things, and including dating. But for anybody watching this who's like gone through a really bad breakup recently or feels like you're never gonna get over an ex, like that's not the truth. Like either that person is for you and it's just down the line, but you kind of have to like just give that to the universe, or they're not your person. And if they're not your person, then it's like, thank God, like that didn't like, thank God that didn't turn out the way that your mind thought you wanted it to. Like literally for me, like thank God. Like imagine if like I had gotten what I wanted and like he and I had gotten married, like oh my God, like or we had gotten engaged or something, like that was gonna be a mess. Like we probably would have like broken off the engagement, or like I probably at some point would have walked like out of that. Yeah, I've been really blessed to like just meet so many people this year who have given me an expanded perspective of like what's out there, and like people who are actually like just qualities that my ex didn't have, men in particular. And yeah, it's like been probably one of the most like grateful things, like blessings that I've received this year, is to be like, wow, like this is like somebody I feel inspired by. Like this is like somebody that is doing things and like has motivation, and like, and even if it's not on a romantic level, like I've met a lot of men this year who have had many incredible traits that my ex didn't have. And I think that was one of the things that I didn't realize that was missing from our relationship, was that we actually weren't as compatible as I thought. And so this year, meeting so many like incredible entrepreneurs and like people who are like really go-getters and like doing big things and making big money and like just doing things that feel inspiring to me and living a lifestyle that's a lot more compatible to mine and thinking in a lot more of like a visionary entrepreneur way, I was like, wow, like thank God that relationship ended, because ultimately like deep down, like he and I really didn't have like so much in common that as I thought. Like we were just like from the same area, and like he was close to his family, so like there were certain values that we had, and there was that like hometown feel. But ladies, as I'm sure many people have said, no, I can't make this as a blanket statement, because there's so many people who like, you know, wind up with their hometown homies. There was definitely a sense of comfort. I think like for me, having gone through this like really large journey during COVID and like living in Mexico and then like going to New York and then winding up back at home for a while, like there was something that just felt grounding to me that I probably needed at that time to feel like home. And so we had a lot of like just weird intersections, and yeah, he was my hometown boyfriend, my second hometown boyfriend that I've ever had. So I think there was something about that felt good to me, but that also was like, he was never gonna leave, you know? Like, I think he's content being in our hometown, and I'm not like that. I'm very much a traveler. I'm like wild. I'm a wanderer. I love adventure. And I think I can't be with somebody who's not like that, like who doesn't have that kind of like very adventurous, wild spirit, who like, I can't be the one leading us into a forest. You know what I mean? Like I very much have that personality, like where I would jump off a cliff, like, let's do it. Like I have yet to jump out of a plane or bungee jump, but I'm working up towards it. At some point in my life, it will happen. It will be checked off. But yeah, I think that ultimately you have to really be grounded in your values and your integrity. And the better you are at doing that, and the better you are at like then picking up on the frequency of the other people that you're surrounding yourself with, and like how that makes you feel, and asking yourself, is this a person you really want to let into your personal space? Like whether that's a friend, whether that's a partner, romantic partner, or, you know, business opportunity. I think there's a lot of people out there right now who are really intense about setting boundaries with family and da-da-da. And like, honestly, I've been so blessed that every time I get really extreme like that, I usually have a friend or like somebody in my life at that time, like reflects back to me my value of like family and home. And so I usually have like friends who are really good about like, hey, I know your mom's being a psychopath right now. Like maybe just like let her, you know, try to just let her and open up. And like, you know, many times this has happened to me. Like I had a good girlfriend in New York kind of relate a similar family pattern as mine and like show me how she had worked through that. And then that was one of the things about my most recent ex that I also really loved, was how close he was to his family. And so I think that also really inspired me and encouraged me to like stay in touch with them. Because as I've got older and like, you know, I live all over the world, like it's easy to kind of just bubble into like whatever's in your present moment, like your friends and my events and things like that, and like not pick up the phone to call mom and dad or like, but that was part of the reason, the blessing of being back in California for a little bit, was that I got to see them more often. And then now I try to answer the phone, LOL. So yeah. We chatted about so many things today. This went a totally different way than I expected, LOL. But I usually try to tune into and trust like whatever comes through, and like usually like invite some guides and like pray for the highest good of the conversations that I jump on, and like really tune into the universe of like, what am I meant to say right now? So I trust that everything that came out was what was meant to come out. There's a lot of topics. I'll catch up on the copy later. But for the meantime, like, go through this, take notes if you want. Shoot me a follow if you're catching me through the Explore feed. I also have YouTube, so catch me on YouTube. I think it's the same handle, like Vic L. Weber. Yeah, and if you're new to the space, let me know. Introduce yourself, drop a comment, let me know how this landed. Shoot me some other topics you'd like to hear my perspective on, and how I live life like through different dynamics. And if you want to get on my email list, drop me the word email and I'll shoot you the link to sign up. Oh, actually the link's in my bio. So go to my bio and you can sign up for my email list. Usually like once a week, I'll like share some like real-time insights of like what's percolating, and usually it's something relationship based. Yeah, so I'll usually talk about like some sort of like relationship dynamic that then manifested something for me like super cool, or I share some videos that I've created that I think might be pertinent to me and to the people on my list. And I always, this is literally the best part, I'm telling you, like just get on my email list for this. I have the best taste in music in the entire world. I usually will drop like the tracks that I've been like really vibing with that week and like creating to at the top. That's my favorite part of the email list. LOL. Like who cares about making like 5+ figures in a month? Like fuck Donnie. Yeah. And if you want to jam or talk more about how we can possibly work together, shoot me a DM with the word coach. We can talk about what that could look like. All right, y'all. Talk soon. Bye.